3 can't fail tips for staying healthy and powerful on your $1 million journey. This topic is for tired and on the run entrepreneurs, executives, leaders, and achievers. Learn 3 strategies you must master to increase energy, shed excess pounds, and look your best. Welcome, everyone. You're about to go on the wellness driven ride. Let me introduce our incredible guest, a top-rated health and lifestyle coach, author of the best-selling book, Fitness for Women Who Love to Eat and Hate to Move, and creator of the life-changing and performance-boosting virtual mentorship and community, Defy Your Age, Live Better, Perform Better, and Flourish After 50. Esta is on a mission to arm women with the mental, emotional, and physical strength and resilience to accomplish more now than they ever did when they were younger. After many years of exploration, trial, and error, Esta has learned that each of us is cut from a custom cloth, requiring uniquely exquisite solutions. She knows that with a well-chosen team, it is possible to focus on health rather than lifespan, traveling a road that leads us to be our most fit selves, aging with health, power, and dignity. Please help me welcome the beautiful, the incredible, the flourishing Esta McIntyre.
Wow, thank you for that. What a beautiful introduction.
Oh, my pleasure, for a beautiful person, a beautiful human being who is doing incredible things in the world. Esta, thank you for being on the Wellness Driven Life Show. Please, let's tell our audience all about you. Introduce yourself.
Oh my goodness. Well, it's so funny. I did not start out in fitness. In fact, I sat in a chair, I would say almost 24/7 now that I think about it. And I worked corporate. I was with the same company for over 30 years sitting in that chair.
Wow.
And so getting myself to get up out of that chair and move was no small feat, let me tell you. And I'll give you a 2-second story. Well, it's a little bit more than that, but how I got involved in fitness. So, I'm the product of 2 clinically obese parents. So my dad was up 100 pounds, down 100 pounds, up 100 pounds. And my mom was very, very similar. And so I could see myself following that path. And I would lose 65, gain 65, I did that 5 times in my adult life. And the last time I did it, I was so annoyed with the whole process that I did what any self-respecting woman would do. I went to a plastic surgeon and I said, I want you to suck it out. And, thankfully, he was a conservative doctor and he looked at me and he said, you know what? You're too big. Right. So when a plastic surgeon who could make thousands of dollars on the surgery tells you you're too big, you got some work ahead of you, right?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that was the beginning. And I actually thought, okay, he wanted me to be 155. At that time, I was probably 185 when I walked in the door, and I'm 5'1.5", 5'2". So I said, fine, I'll lose the weight. And I took a drug. I took Fen-Phen. Have you ever heard of that drug?
I believe that I have. It's like speed.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Well,
Yeah.
it's phentermine and fenfluramine. Now, the phentermine is the speed part. So when you wake up in the morning, you took that phentermine, and when you went to bed at night to bring you back down, you would take the fenfluramine. But the fenfluramine got pulled off the market because it was causing heart problems. And just to give you an idea of how crazy I was, my response to that drug being taken off the market was, oh, thank goodness I got to have it before it got taken off the market. That's how crazy my brain was about getting the weight off. But fast forward now. So when I did go back and have some surgery done when I was 40 years old. And at the time of this recording, I'm 67. So,
Wow.
so I knew I had to do something more than take a drug.
Yeah.
So the abbreviated story of this is that I went to a chiropractor who had a weight loss program, and he introduced me to someone who was a trainer to the stars. And the trainer to the stars said, well, I'll give you a free session. And of course, I grew up in the New York City housing projects, and I thought, I'm not going to pay for him because he was trainer to the stars. I probably can't afford him. And I did. I kept going to get free sessions with him. And his undergrad degree was in exercise physiology, but his master and doctorate are in psychology. So while he was beating up my body, he was up in my head. It's true. And I learned so much from him. But one day I went in there and he said, it's time for you to pay it forward. And I said, pay it forward? What does that mean? And so at the end of the day, I went back to school and I got credentialed, and that was 20 or so years ago now. So that was my start, my foray into fitness. Yeah.
That, as I am so glad that you're here on this show, because I didn't know this history, and really when I see you, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so exciting what she's doing. And I love what she's doing. And I get a little more intimacy with you because of eWomen, but I haven't actually heard your story. So this is so cool that you're sharing it with us. Coming from obese parents and dealing with it yourself, you don't even look like you've had a history with weight issues.
Oh, you're so kind. Thank you.
Yeah, well, it's very obvious that you're passionate about it and you've done the work, especially coming from a background where you seeked out, I can't think now, but you wanted to go into the knife, right?
Oh, yeah.
You took drugs that were severely unhealthy for you. You were going to whatever extremes.
Path of least resistance.
The path of least resistance, whatever
Right.
extremes to alleviate the extreme issue you were dealing with.
Right. Exactly.
And through that, coming to some really eye-opening and awakening moments. And how cool is that your mentor told you, let's give this back now. What are you going to do?
Forward.
What are you going to do to pay it forward?
That scared me more than anything, I think, and the other thing with him was that he was very expensive, and I still had my New York City housing project mentality. And the way I paid for him for 2.5 years, get this. So I had clothes by that time that were too big on me, and I learned how to sell on eBay. So I would, go into my closet, put it on eBay. And then, by the time I put all my bigger clothes on eBay, I had probably $300 saved in the account. And then I went to Ross and TJ Maxx and Marshalls and all those stores, and I would leaf through the racks. I'd find something, put it up on eBay, and if it didn't sell, I would return it. That's how I paid for him for 2.5 years.
Wow.
Truly. Where there's a will, there's a way, right?
Thank you for that tip. Okay.
Right.
No, that's incredible. And you're right. When there's a will, there's a way. And what a cool
changed my life.
Yeah. Awesome. So when we get back from this commercial, I want to talk a little bit about, do you really love to eat and hate to move? And I want to jump a little bit into that because that's the title of your book, which is brilliant, by the way. And so let's talk more about that after this commercial. So tell me a little bit about this awesome book that you created from all of these experiences and jumping into business a little bit, but you titled it, you know, do you really, well, that's not your title.
It's Fitness for Women Who Love to Eat and Hate to Move. And that is my baby picture.
Yes, yes. Tell me more about this and the title.
It's true. I mean, I love food. And honestly, I tell my clients, I think food is, part of the joy of life.
Yeah.
It's unlike any other addiction because, I mean, you can't go cold turkey, really. You can't give up food for life, and we're surrounded by it. And so you have to make peace and live with it. But it is true. I do love to eat. And I always say, I don't know if you can see the picture here, the eyes. And, I asked my mom, how did you get me to look so fiercely to one side? And you want to guess?
How?
Food.
That's
Food. And I always joke that it works to this day,
Yeah.
So the movement part, when I say I hate to move, I don't love traditional exercise. I mean, please, God, don't make me do a burpee. Don't make me lunge from one, So I looked for fun and other viable ways to move and get the job done. And some of those things, like when I was 65, I was the master trainer for the state of California for fitness bungee. So, you have these bungees that hang from the ceiling and you run and you fly around. It's so much fun. So,
oh my gosh, I don't think I've heard of that. Tell me more about that because that sounds incredible. Do they still have these gyms?
It's so fun. They hang from the ceiling and you have a professional harness. So you're harnessed in and, okay, I'll get to therapeutics later, but for regular exercise, it's a single hookup in the back of the harness. So you're hooked up to the ceiling to this. It's almost like, the bouncy things in the door that kids. Yeah. It's almost like that. You're hooked up in the back and we measured the amount of resistance based on your weight, so that, if we had somebody who was a little smaller, they wouldn't go flinging to the ceiling, and somebody that was bigger, so we could measure the resistance and you'd fly. We would do push-ups on the floor and clap, really fun.
Yeah, that sounds fun. I have a very large trampoline in my backyard just for that. Because, bouncing is fun and it's one of the best forms of exercise. So I agree with you.
Bone density. Great for bone density.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there are certain things where it's easier on our joints. And, I haven't ran in a while, but I used to be a runner. And, I thought about, well, what else can I do? Swimming. And during COVID, I wanted something for the kids also. So I'm like, well, if I'm going to spend a bunch of money, what can I also enjoy during this time of lockdown when we don't get to go to the pool and we don't get to go do certain things, so we did a lot of walking and hiking and got the trampoline so we could do that form of exercise where it was really enjoyable.
I taught fitness trampoline classes, but I also did fitness drumming, where you would be drumming, pounding with sticks, really fun.
Oh my gosh, you're speaking my love language here.
And then there's another modality that I teach called tap fit. Did you ever hear of that? So there are these rubber things and you put them over your sneakers and it turns your sneakers into tap shoes.
What?
And It's not a tap dance class, but it's really pounding out rhythms that are more
Oh.
fitness rhythms.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. So,
My goodness.
when I say
Well,
you like to move, just don't make me be on an elliptical. Ugh, just no, not my thing. Yeah,
no running in circles,
yeah.
the
No,
rat
no,
or
not my
hamster wheel.
thing. Right,
Yeah.
exactly. So that's what that means.
Oh, that is really cool. I love that you found other ways of motivation.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. I mean, when we go back to food, and I can't remember what you said now, but you said something about I'll have to come back on that. But food is such a
It's a part of the joy.
emotional
It's the joy of life.
it's the joy of
It's
life,
the joy of
and
life.
we commune together through
Right.
food. I mean, there are so much and emotion stemmed from eating. So I
No,
agree. Who doesn't love to eat, you know? And so, but how do we
no, very,
marry?
very
Yeah.
few people who don't love it.
Right. And so how do we marry, a healthy lifestyle where, people do dread the treadmill and, the burpees and all of those things where it feels daunting. It's like, so how do we change that? And I think that's really what you do.
Well, the thing about movement is, like with everything else, is that it has to be a customized approach to movement. When you go to no disrespect to gyms, because I think most movement is good movement. But if you go to those places, you see most people are doing the same thing, regardless of their age, their shape, their physical ability. Most of them are doing the same things. And your approach to movement has to change as the years progress.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go into the science of it a little bit later. I want to talk to you about the science of what happens to your body and
Yeah.
why I wish I knew when I was 20 and 30 and 40 what I know now.
Yeah. I agree with you.
Yeah.
Ah, so many good things, Esta, and I love that you have that picture of you when you were a baby and your mom had the perfect shot with food. It's so fitting. I hope that you added that segment into the book
It
and
is. And ice cream, my favorite
okay,
to this
and
day.
ice cream. Well, let's take another commercial break, and then when we
Okay.
come back, let's jump back into let's go into those sciences because I that's
Okay, we'll do that.
my favorite area when
We'll
we
do
come
that.
back.
KimJacobsConsulting.com. People say opportunity knocks on every door. Right. No. Opportunity stands by silently waiting for you to recognize it. So I want you to recognize that this is a time for you. This is an incredible time to have your own talk show. It establishes a level of credibility.
Yes.
And by being exposed to people on a regular basis, it allows you to strategically begin to impact and attract your audience. She can take you in a place in yourself that you can't go by yourself. So go to KimJacobsConsulting.com. That's KimJacobsConsulting.com. Did I say KimJacobsConsulting.com? Yes, you did. Very good. Make sure you go there and sign up for the coaching, and we're looking forward to working with you. You have something special. You have greatness within you.
Esta, you travel across the country doing speaking engagements and educating your audiences. And I wanted to go over one of your speaking topics. So, and it's going into the science a little bit, but when you talk about the aging process and who doesn't want to age, right, with power. And then you say science now tells us that there are multiple ways to do so, to age with power, and you've studied them all. The good news is that you can start where you are right now. And we're going to talk about focusing on natural production of youth hormones, providing the audience on 3 ways to start reversing the hands of time. So let's talk a little bit about that.
Okay. So when I work with clients, we work in 5 areas. Okay. So, of course, we're going to do nutrition, which is different for everyone. We're going to do methodological movement, and that's the area where we start working with those youth hormones. Then there's confidence, rebuilding confidence. And, in the aging process, because of the cultural norms that are associated with aging, especially for women, I'll talk about that. But you got to rebuild your confidence, reignite excitement, and you need a customized team to take you through future years. And that it doesn't matter to me if you're 40, 50, it doesn't matter. You need a customized team to take you through. But let's talk about hormones. And specifically, I want to talk about HGH. Do you know what HGH is? That's human growth hormone.
Yeah, I do, but maybe I don't know if our audience does.
It's the hormone when you were a baby that made you grow, right? Okay. And like everything else, as we get older, it depletes. And so in the arena of movement, there are now proven ways to get your body to naturally produce HGH, even for older people. And I'm going to tell you what they are, because there are these ways, and then there are other more scientific arenas in the areas of regenerative medicine. But relating to exercise, one of the things I teach is a program called Sprint 8. You can look it up online. Sprint 8 is a way that it's a HIIT program, high intensity interval training program, where you can, and anybody can do it because you do it at your own speed, but you have to warm up a little bit, and then you sprint. I do it on an elliptical sometimes. And so I pedal as hard as I can till I think I'm going to die.
You push yourself. You push yourself really hard.
30 seconds.
Okay.
And then you actively rest. So when I say actively rest, you don't just stop. You keep going, right? Pedal slowly. And then you do it again. Fast. So this happens 8 times. And when we do it, we have heart rate monitors on. We use MyZone heart rate monitors. Everybody uses something a little different. We like MyZone because you don't have to look at the number. You can see the color. So the goal is to, I would show you on my phone. I should have had that prepared. But if you, the goal is to get in the yellow, red, back down to the green. Yellow, red, back down to the green. So that stimulates human growth hormone. But there's something even newer that I'm using now, and they're called BFR. Have you ever heard of that? It's blood flow restriction bands.
Well,
Okay, so that started in Japan, and it was for elite athletes. And
wait a minute. Tell me with the audience. So is this like what they do when they draw our blood?
No, that's different. No.
Blood flow restriction.
There are these bands that you put around your arms and around your legs, or either arms or legs. Some of us use 4 at a time. It just depends. And you restrict a little bit of the blood flow.
Okay.
And you want to do this with someone who's credentialed to do it, and I am. And so then you do 20 minutes is all you want to do with those bands. So you can do it at the end of a workout, the beginning of a workout. That also helps your body to naturally produce human growth hormone. Wow. So there's different ways, there's different methodological approaches, and you got to change how you work out. Now, we were taught back in the day that we should do steady state, and you see it today. You go to the gym and you see people on the elliptical just going for an hour and a half. And it's like I said, most movement is good movement. And that's okay for your brain. It's good for your brain. And, it helps your heart some, it gets you, but it's really not doing anything for your hormones. And there's a post burn when you're doing sprinting. So yes, you're burning like crazy when you're doing it, but there's what we call EPOC, the afterburn of calories. And in that kind of sprinting, you burn long after you stop doing it.
Yeah.
So there's different methods, and that one I love because you could, both those two that I mentioned, you could do them at any fitness level.
Yeah.
You start small, you build up.
Right. Oh, those are really cool. And there's definitely a lot of science behind it.
Right. And, on the topic of hormones outside of HGH, my generation, back in the day, they had two very big studies. I think it was the nurses study and the women's initiative, where they had these women on Premarin and Prempro. Now, those are hormones. Most women are familiar, at least, with bioidentical hormones, right? But back in the day, those hormones were taken from horses, from horse urine specifically. And
Oh,
there were
nice.
only two hormones in there that actually matched human hormones, right? So they did this study using that as the model, and deduced that hormones cause cancer, which really they retracted that years later, but people are still believing that. And I'm not a doctor, so you should speak to your doctor about that. But the reality is, without hormones, if you don't take methodological approaches and move and eat differently as you get older, if you're not supplementing with hormones, you literally will wither away. I hate to say that, but your bones, you get osteoporosis, you get sarcopenia, which is loss of muscle. You just have to take approaches that make sense, that are different than when you were 20. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, it does to me.
I mean, I wish I'd known then what I know now in terms of how to exercise. So, women are working their way up to weightlifting 3 times a week. You've got to weight lift. You have to no muscle, loss of muscle is aging, makes you age rapidly.
Yeah.
That's all there is to it. I wish I could tell you.
What was the third? Because did you give the third one? I'm writing it all down.
Those are the 2 exercise ones. The other ones are nutrition.
Nutrition. Okay.
Nutrition. Yeah. So there's nutrition, and then so I gave you the middle of the Oreo. Bad pun, I know, but I gave you the icing of the Oreo, because if I had to, I would not want to leave any podcast that I do without talking about methodological approaches to moving for aging populations. It's so important that you don't do now what you did then, that you modify it in ways that are going to help. Now you want to double back to nutrition for a second?
Yeah, we can. But first, well, yes.
Yeah, you go. You
I get so excited. So I want to ask you a little bit, because you talked about the importance of having a team. Can you tell me a little bit more about that, and why that is so important to have people behind you, to back you, to support you?
I'm going to tell you why. First of all, we are, as you said in the introduction, we are all cut from a custom cloth. We are unique, each of us. And for that reason, we don't all need the same things. And so what I've done for my population is I've written a course that has 60 videos in it. And it's not just me. I've invited chiropractors to record with me, Ayurvedic medicine specialists, doctors. I have even invited retirement financial specialists and wardrobe specialists and estheticians who talk about how to treat aging skin. And that's because we each have different needs. On my team, I might have a chiropractor and a massage therapist and a stretch therapist. But somebody else might not love chiropractic. They might more like physical therapy or some other modality. So I have all of those specialties come in and speak to them so that they know what out there in the universe is available for them. If you have back pain, if you have neck pain, because even young people, I find, have, one thing or the other hurts.
Oh, yeah. Me especially lately. So
Right?
much work on the computer. I'm like, dear Lord, my aching back and neck.
What's available in the universe? What is myofascial release and how do you do it? And then we talk about what they can do at home. So there's in the exercise, so there's 5 categories. I hope I'm not going too fast. There's 5 categories: nutrition, movement, confidence building, reigniting excitement, and how to build a team to take you through and get you what you need. So those are the 5 categories. Like within the exercise category, we teach Sprint 8, we teach BFR, but I also say, this is a stability ball. Why on earth would you want this big thing in your house? What do you do with it? What is it? How do you use it? Okay.
You can use it as a chair while you're watching TV.
Right. Or here's the different kinds of weights in the universe. Which weight does which thing and why would you use it? So they get to learn. And that way, when they go to the gym, it's not so intimidating.
Yeah.
There are a lot of women in the universe who
they don't know how to use the equipment.
No.
Yeah, they've never been taught. I think that's excellent that you offer that because, and I agree with you. I love that you have those 5 pillars. It's very much like what I've talked about with the wellness driven life, the 8 pillars of wellness, the 8 dimensions. And, it's the best way that I can describe because there's more than just one thing. You can't just do one thing. It's not just about, oh, I do this physical activity every day of my life and I'm whole. Right. It's not about that. There's so much more. It's under this massive umbrella of balancing in these different categories. And I love the teams that you have brought on and that makes perfect sense to me. I mean, why wouldn't you? And it's incredible that you offer.
There's no way for me to know everything.
Right.
I am a specialist in my lane of, but what I do for my clients is I research for them. You know how you research every diet under the sun. We've grown up, we've lived in this bubble of diet and exercise and cookie cutter approaches to weight loss. And what's happened, right? We're still confused, number one. When I was growing up, it was low fat, eat cereal, blah, blah, blah. Today it's keto and low carb or carnivore or whatever. How do you even know? I do all the research for my clients so that they understand the science behind what's going on.
Absolutely. Well, let's go to another quick commercial break and then let's dive into that other aspect that you wanted to when we get back. And I think that it's just great and fascinating. And, that's why the Wellness Driven Life Show has different guests, different specialists, different stories, because, that's what it takes. It takes the village.
The village.
Let's play this and we'll be right back.
Healthy and beautiful you. Step 1. Cleanse with the enzyme collagen cleanser. Gently exfoliates and removes dead skin cells. Brightens and evens out skin tones. Repairs damage caused by environmental stressors. Protects skin's barrier function. Use daily for clean, smooth, glowing skin. Experience the Bella Grace Enzyme Collagen Cleanser for a refreshing start and a radiant finish. Step 2. Treat with the Dewy Serum. Deeply hydrates and locks in moisture. Protects from free radical damage. Targets multiple signs of aging. Boosts microcirculation. Revealing a youthful, radiant, dewy complexion. Dewy Serum goes beyond ordinary skincare, leading you to a realm of glowing, rejuvenated beauty. Step 3. Replenish with the Collagen Plumping Moisturizer. Reduces fine lines and wrinkles. Deeply hydrates. Boosts collagen production. Firms and smooths the skin. Experience an intense surge of moisture. that leaves your skin feeling supple and soft to the touch. Celebrate your skin and elevate your beauty with Bella Grace Skincare.
I want to write quick to encourage our audience. I know I've had a couple of comments come through, and I just want to continue to encourage the viewers right now during this live. If you have questions for Esta or myself, please put them in the chat and we will get to you during the show. I know, let's see, we have one from, I have a couple from Annette. She says, awesome, loved that. And she also mentioned, I'm one of those who doesn't love to eat.
Oh, wow. You're rare.
Yeah.
Good for you. But make sure you do get your nutrition, though. Right? You got to prioritize your protein, at least.
She does. She does. All right. So tell me more, Esta, about all of it.
Okay. So let's see. Where do we want to go from here? So here's what's so wonderful. We are living in just a wonderful time now.
I agree.
And we are on the cutting edge of regeneration medicine, right?
Yeah.
There's a great book out there. I don't have any interest in it at all. I don't get paid for it, but it is called Life Force.
I've heard of that, and I'm going to write it down because I haven't read
Tony
it.
Robbins' book, and
I lied. I do have that book. Yes, Tony. Yeah, no,
yeah, so
I
he
did
does
pick
the
it up.
2 chapters at the beginning and 2 chapters at the end, but the middle is written by physicians.
Yeah,
Okay?
no, I ran into it at Costco actually, and I couldn't put it down, so I purchased it.
It speaks to the future of medicine, but you have to. You are the captain of your ship.
Yeah.
And you've got to stand your ground, because traditional medicine, and I'm not anti-traditional medicine. I love my doctor. I'm not, but there are new peptides out there that are making all of the difference, especially for aging populations. So there's a couple of peptides actually that they're called messenger peptides. I'll keep it simple. And they give your brain the message to, for example, produce HGH. And that's another way to get your body to produce HGH without shooting up HGH. You would never want to take HGH. It's hard to regulate. It's very expensive. People just really hardly do that anymore. So
no, but I think what I'm hearing from you is you're talking about messengers. So like you have to, it makes sense not to just put it in there, but to bring the messengers, to bring them about, to activate them.
Exactly. So you're doing it through your movement. You're doing it. I mean, you got to do that with a doctor who really understands it. Not every physician understands it. And I think some physicians even call it, think it's snake oil. So, you have to find the right physician. That's one of the other things I do for my client is I research the physicians who are doing this, who are aging specialists. Now, in my practice,
that's above and beyond, Esta. That's great.
I just do that for them. I don't tell them you should, because really they have to make that decision. But I tell them what's available out there in the universe, right? And I think I don't call it in my practice, I don't call it anti-aging. I call it pro-aging, because anti-aging would say I'm against aging, and certainly I'd rather age than not, So I call it pro-aging, but it's not just about aging. It's about aging with power. Because this is one of the big things I wanted to say to you is that I alluded to it earlier. I spoke about it earlier, but men in our culture, they age with dignity usually, right? So, I mean, they get the little gray at the temples, and
Crown.
they're more respected as they get older. Women, I don't know if you ever watch TV and watch some of the ways that women are depicted in television commercials, right? We're hunched over, the big buns on the top of their head that are gray, and they can't see, and they're walking with, I mean,
Do they have a sewing needle in their hands?
yeah, I know they're hunched over with a walker, like, come on, really? And I'm going to say one more thing, and I'm going to pray that this is not controversial. I'll take a pause, and then you can cut it out if it's controversial. I'll try not.
Wait, we're going live, right?
Yeah, I do. But let's talk about. I want to talk to you about the days when COVID first came into the universe. Right? I was in California. I owned a gym there, and my population is 50 and older. I have men and women. And the first thing, what was the first thing we were told? If you're 65, stay home, you're going to die. Right?
Oh,
that was the
God.
first thing we were,
Yeah,
really was the
you're
message.
right.
It was
totally
the inferred
forgot about
message, not if you're in bad shape, or if you have comorbidities, or if
health
you,
issues.
it was all 65-year-olds stay home.
Yeah, I
Right?
remember that now. It's funny how
felt-
we forget these so quickly.
I didn't think anything about aging at that point. I've always done what I wanted to do. But my population was so fearful and believed that they were going to die from this.
Yeah.
And I am not minimizing COVID. I have a healthy respect for COVID. This is not about COVID at all, but this is more about the cultural norms and the way we look at aging populations, right? What if we could turn back that clock a little bit? What if we could continue to produce and contribute to society in viable ways? That's what this is about. It's not about not dying. It's about living until it's our time to go.
That's beautiful.
And that's why
Can you say that again? Because that's just beautiful.
It isn't about not dying. It's about living until it's our time to go.
Yeah.
I think about the Queen of England, right? I don't know if you remember the Queen of England, but she, in her last days, 2 days before she passed away, she met with the Prime Minister and greeted her and did all of this stuff, and then she got her stuff together, and 2 days later she was done. And I granted she was very active her whole life. She had her corgi dogs and she rode horses, but she lived until it was her time to go. And wouldn't it be wonderful if we could minimize disease, if some of these peptides and longevity medicine, stem cell processes that they have in the works, wouldn't it be wonderful if future generations could turn back the clock a little bit so that they could continue to contribute?
Yeah.
Right? And not only that, I'll say one more thing. So you got me on my soapbox, but the problem solving in our world has to be multi-generational, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when I started researching this, I found out that millennials don't like baby boomers, and baby boomers don't like millennials. Why? It's so silly when you think about it, because one blames one for the environmental problems, the other thinks the other is lazy, whatever they think. And when in reality, to solve problems and produce in this world of ours, we have to work together.
Yeah.
That's how I see it. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, that's enough of that.
Okay. Well, okay. So tell me what you mean by defying the cultural norms associated with aging.
It's what I said to you. So it's how television depicts older people.
Yeah.
As being blind, deaf, dumb,
yeah,
for the most part. And when in reality, there are issues with aging. So there's no denying that things happen to you as you age, but that doesn't mean that you can't contribute to society. And it's up to each of those of us that are in the category of aging populations. It's our responsibility to do the things every day to stay as vital as humanly possible.
Yeah, and that includes your Sprint 8 and your blood flow restriction bands, which that's a new one to me. Esther, I have never heard of that. And the nutritional aspect. So let's go into the nutritional aspect a little bit.
Good.
What is your recommendations, or what have you learned? Tell us about that.
Well, I mentioned before that nutrition is has to be customized for each person. So what I do is
Not from the same cloth.
Not from the same cloth.
Yeah.
So with each person, I start most people at the same place. So I have a formula that I use where I look at their BMR, calculate their basal metabolic rate, which is theoretically the amount of calories you burn if you're not, if you're at rest, basically. Because even when you sleep, you're burning calories if you're living, right? So I take that number and I have a formula that I use to calculate their calories, and that's the uniqueness. And I start their macronutrients all the same. And I ask them, not only do I ask them to log their food, but I can see what they've logged. So I can log in at any time and look at their food diaries, not to ever say this, but so that I can say to them, try this, try that, switch this out, switch that out. And over time, we see what their body responds to and does not respond to. And I'm going to tell you another thing. Here's another key. So this is another light bulb for you. Let's say, does everybody know what a macronutrient is? Let me tell you what it is, just in case. So those are your protein, fat, carbohydrate. Let's just leave it at the three, right? Protein, fats, and carbohydrates. And you really want to keep track of those. And then when you're like, if I put you at 40% protein, because I'm always going to prioritize protein, that's another light bulb. Let's say I do 40 protein, 40 carbohydrates, 40 30 30, 40 protein, 30 carbohydrates, 30 fats, right? You're going to do that. You're going to have great results. I'm going to talk about one other element in a minute. But then you'll plateau. That's what it just happens. And so then we have to, what I call macronutrient cycle. So I change it up a little bit. But it's impossible for me to know how to help you to change it up unless I can see what you're doing. So that's the reason for logging. After some period of time, you choose not to log because you know what you're doing.
Esther, that reminds me a little bit about your sprint, because when you're switching things up, so the sprint, you're going really, really fast and you're pushing yourself. And then you back down a little bit and now you don't stop moving, but you continue on just maybe a little more gracefully, right? And not so hard. But I feel like that's kind of your description of what you're doing with food and the different amounts and percentages of what you're giving your body, but not just keeping that the same consistently. Like you're switching it up a little bit and allowing your body.
It's a quality too. So you can't do that with Oreos and Hostess and whatever else.
You can't.
You can't. No. So there's that, but there's another very, very critical element of that, and that's the sugar intake. Because the American Heart Association tells women 25 grams of sugar per day and men 35 or 36 grams of sugar per day. So the first week that I'm working with someone, I tell them, I don't care what you eat, just 25 grams of sugar a day for women. So, and you can eat whole chickens if you want, 25 grams of sugar every day. And that's their first week. That's what they do. They only count grams of sugar, nothing else. Because, and I teach them how to wean off of sugar.
Yeah.
right? Because
Well, that's like the number one, isn't it? That everybody has the most difficulty with, I feel.
right, and that's true. But the reason why to cut back on sugar is not just from a weight loss, fat loss point of view. It's because everything, I think most things that go wrong with the body are caused by inflammation, right? Internal inflammation. And we're finding that besides all of the inflammatory foods, there's a whole list of inflammatory foods. Sugar causes inflammation.
Absolutely.
Sugar, lack of sleep, stress. We could go on.
Oh,
But
yeah. Well, and we should, you know, and this is what the audience deserves to know. What the world deserves to know. That's why we have the show, is to really paint the picture of the realities and the sciences behind and the whys, and what can we do to change and to be better and to live more vibrantly.
that's exactly what it is. So in the nutrition area, it's 25 grams of sugar for women, 35 for men. In the movement area, I mean, I wish I could tell you everything I know in this one little session, but I can't. In the movement area, you want to include sprinting and BFR and, blood flow restriction. Then you've got to do the confidence, right? You've got to build confidence. And a lot of the confidence work is spaced repetition, right? So how did you learn your ABCs, right? We even sung it. A, B, C, D. I won't sing for you because I don't want to do that to you, but how did you learn how to spell Mississippi, right? MISSI, people, and you said it and you said it and you said, I mean, I think I always say if I ever go senile, I'll always know how to spell Mississippi, know the alphabet, So the only way that you can change your mind is through spaced repetition.
Yeah.
And what's the most powerful self-talk? I mean, what's the most powerful input is self-talk. I just gave away the answer, but we are influenced by outside sources. We're influenced from the time we're born by, mom and dad, or by parents, by teachers, by friends. But the most powerful input is what you say to yourself, even if you say it silently. It's the truth.
Yeah, it absolutely is.
It's the truth. And then we make lists of everything that we want to do. For example, I have the Centenarian Olympics, right? So when you're 100 years old, what do you want to do? Well, personally, I'd like to travel. Well, so what does that mean? It means I have to be able to lift a 30-pound bag into the overhead bin.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I have to train to lift the 30-pound bag up, right? Mm-hmm. I want to be able to, if a child is running towards me, or a dog, I don't want to get knocked over. I want to be able to squat down and brace so that I can even pick that child up, right? So there's certain things that we defined that when we get to be 100, why don't we train for those things? More people come to me. I'll give you a classic example. Pickleball. I love pickleball, not anti-pickleball. Okay. Don't call me up or write me letters. But I get people that come to me because they're a little older and pickleball is the thing to do. That's what older people are doing right now. Even younger people, but a lot of older people are taking up pickleball, but they've never trained to play pickleball. So I see people coming in. I get referrals from physical therapists. So I do corrective exercise. So they come to see me after physical therapy is done. And they come to me with hurt knees, hurt ankles, hurt elbows, hurt shoulders. Why? Mm-hmm. Because they haven't trained to play pickleball, Yeah. That's a whole weekend warrior thing. Wow. So got to train functionally.
Well, speaking of fun things, Esta, you answered some of my fun facts, and I always love when guests do this. So
Okay.
I want to talk a little bit about it.
Okay. I'm afraid. I'm very afraid.
Are
Okay.
you? There's nothing bad here. This is great. So I always ask, share something that most people wouldn't know about you, like a fun fact, hobby, food, bucket list, something unique. And you said that I was a music major and trumpet player.
I was a trumpet player. I loved every second of it. But when you're a music major, there's not very many places to go. You can be a music teacher, and if you're good enough, you can play in a symphony or something, which I wasn't. So yeah. So
you loved it. Do you still play?
I don't play trumpet. I play piano now. I gave my trumpet to my brother-in-law. So yeah, I don't do the trumpet anymore.
Well, I hope he used it well.
He did. He plays more than I ever played.
Oh, great. That's cool. See,
but I'll tell you,
cool.
Back in the day, though, it was so much fun because women didn't play trumpet, right? So back when I was going through school, they didn't play trumpet. And so it was me and 12 men in the trumpet section. What could be better than that, right?
So you were always kind of like outside of the norm or the crowd anyway.
My poor husband. Yes. We've been married 48 and a half years, and he just knew what he was doing.
That's beautiful. How cool.
Yeah.
You also said that I owned a mobile dog grooming business in New York City with Park Avenue clients in my 20s. How fun is that?
That's how we bought our first house. I always worked a job, but I was always doing something on the side. And Scott and I did that. My husband and I did that together, and we had portable table, and those people became family.
Yeah.
So yes, I did do that. I love dogs. I don't groom anymore.
That sounds like such a fun experience though too. And you've definitely always had an entrepreneurial spirit.
Always.
And so let's talk a little bit about your business, Esta, before we close, because I don't know how the hour goes by so fast, but it seems to be going when good things are happening. So let's talk about your business. I want to share with the audience that I do have it scrolling along the bottom, and also it's going to be in the description of this video. So you have a couple of different incredible businesses, but we're going to share a couple. But you can access the websites at www.myhealthstudio.com and www.estamcintyre.com. Now, the estamcintyre.com is where you can access Esta's book.
Yeah.
Yes. So tell me a little bit more about your businesses. Tell the audience what you do. Well, I mean, I think we know a little bit about what you do in your training, and you travel and you speak on stages. So maybe some access there.
I would say to you that there are silver linings. When bad things happen, there can be silver linings. And what I do now is my COVID silver lining. I owned a gym in Southern California. We were told the same night that we were closing, and I told the front desk, I had 6 employees, told the front desk, call everybody and tell them to get here with their vans and cars and whatever. And we sent them home with balls and bands and trampolines and weights and whatever wasn't nailed down. And we streamed live the next day. They let us come back for 2 weeks, and then they closed us again. And I could see the handwriting on the wall. I just could tell that the population would never be the same. They were really scared. And so at that time, my book was due to be released when? March 2020. So we pulled the book back. I got to write a chapter on COVID, and we released the book, and I wrote that course and developed a business called Flourish After 50. And that's a story in and of itself. So My Health Studio is the gym. I have a gym here in Ivins, Utah. And that's where I also work with multiple sclerosis clients because I'm credentialed to work with them. And it's very hard to work with those people remotely. So that's what it is for. And that's a big part of my heart. And I work with my other clients, whether it's for fitness, nutrition, or the course. I work all over the United States. I work remotely and teach people how to take their power back in the aging process.
Mm.
Did that answer the question?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, we didn't even really get to dive into your passion for MS.
Right.
I've got stories about that too. And so I love that is one of your passions and your assistance with that, and just being the light in the world for, helping people age gracefully. And, I love the aspect that you use about what are you going to do when you're 100 and how are we going to get you there so you can do that. And that's really cool.
Right.
Thank you so much for being a guest
Thank
on this
you
show.
for having me. Thank you.
My pleasure. And tell me, is there anything else that you want to share with our audience today?
Just do what you need to do to stay standing. You can, if you want to go to flourishafter50.com, which is not on the bottom of the screen, flourishafter50.com, you can book a no-cost consultation with me. There's a calendar. If you go to the contact page, there's a calendar there, and I can chat with you a little bit more about you personally. I'd be happy to do that. You can also look in the June edition, I think it is, of Brain and Life magazine. I'm in there for the work I did in Los Angeles with multiple sclerosis clients, and how we were able to get them grants to come. So I think, did I answer you? I think so.
Yeah, you are so generous with your time and offering consultations with the audience. No, you are, and because you're so knowledgeable, and I love that. And all of this information is going to be in the description link below. So I want to remind our guests for that. I also want to remind everyone that whoever is watching this replay, if you have comments or questions, please leave your questions and comments, and we will return those in the future and answer them promptly. And yeah, I just want to thank you again, Esta, for being on the Wellness Driven Life Show. It's been a pleasure and an honor having you. You're welcome. And I want to remind our guests that we wouldn't be here. The Wellness Driven Life Show wouldn't be here without your generous contributions. You can donate on our website, www.thewellnessdrivenlifeshow.com, and we will send you an incredible email, and you can save that for your records. So I just wanted to let everybody know that. And goodbye for now. And I want to wish everybody a very happy day, and may the luck of the Irish be with ye.
Thank you so much.
Bye for now.